start up with, well, kind of a holiday that it's going to start, which is Truth and Reconciliation Day. So, Truth and Reconciliation Day, just to give a brief, it's a day that remembers the graveyards or the children that were dead in residential schools, especially First Nation, which lately have been discovering all these massive graves, and remembers all other types of genocides that have been done to indigenous community uh, over the years. So depending on where you're living, basically Manitoba recognized it, British Columbia recognized it, Alberta recognized it, Ontario is in the still trying to figure it out. They still haven't done it. Quebec has recognized it, but again, Nova Scotia has as well. I don't necessarily sure about PEI, but I do know that New Brunswick decided not to do that. The government of New Brunswick decided not to put September 30th, which is the day, as a statutory holiday. Premier Blaine Higgs said a statement, and this is what the statement says. Is saying that the New Brunswick government is committed to identifying ways of acknowledging September 30 as the day of recognition. Our government encourages everyone to use this day as an opportunity to consider what each of us can do as individuals to advance reconciliation and help to create a better, more inclusive province, Hicks said in a statement. And then he did his bullshit, which said, while September 30th will not be observed in New Brunswick, it will not be a statutory holiday. What is your take? I'll get to Hillary first.
I'm just so tired of this shitty man being in power. Like, he wore that orange shirt and pretended to care about the Indigenous, and then straight up basically spits on them by doing this. There's still no commissioner towards systemic racism. There's still no abortion clinic, and we're still fighting about Clinic 554 with because the Liberal Party is now actually like fighting for these women's rights and saying that they want Clinic 554 to reopen. And he's just like such an awful person, giving us a 5-cent minimum like a wage hike. And it's just like, it's so exhausting how absolutely awful this guy is. You can't say that you're committed to finding ways to recognize this day and to support this community when federally they have a way, and it's not even that great of a way. It's a day, but at least it was something. And then Blaine Higgs is just like, no, I like shit on your symbolism, shit on your Truth and Reconciliation Day. We don't care about the mass graves. We don't care about anything. I just really dislike him so much. And I hope that he is no longer premier soon.
Well, he has a majority, so he has 4 years.
I hate that for us.
Unless somebody retires or passes away or something, he's there for 4. Clinton, what's your take on it?
Okay, you guys ready for some unpopular opinions here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm totally not Team Higgs. I can't stand the man. I've been so sick of him since, I don't know if it was the doctor up in Campbellton or someone else. I hope he's not in power anymore either. All of the above. Not a defense for Higgs. I don't support him at all. However, and without getting into what I think should and shouldn't be statutory holidays, I don't see how getting all businesses and all small businesses across the province and across the country to pay their employees to stay at home for the day, and then when they're paying their employees, get deducted off those payments and give money back to the province and get back federally, contribute to everything else, get deducted for it. The government makes money off a stat holiday because employers pay their employees and they deduct those taxes. I don't see how that does anything for Indigenous people. So, well, there's a lot of things that they can be doing. I don't see how that does it. I don't see how paying Canadians to stay at home helps Indigenous people. You can say it's a day of learning. You can say it's a day for them to attend events. Well, there's no proof that they're going to do that, and there's no mandatory order for them to do that. So likely, just like most other holidays, just like Remembrance Day, it won't really be observed. If you were going to have a stat holiday to recognize Indigenous people, here's a couple different things you could do. you, the government, could pay people to stay home by sending them a check and not putting that burden on small businesses, who a lot of which just barely survived the pandemic. Or you could instruct businesses to take the money they would have used to pay their employees for stat holiday and contribute it directly to Indigenous people. Or you could just give Indigenous people a paid day off. Or you could pay your employees if they have proven that they are going to some kind of event, because that was one of the Indigenous leaders' complaints, that people aren't going to be able to have the day off work to attend these Indigenous-led events meant to increase education and learning on the topic. Unless employees would only get paid if they attended learning workshops, I'm sorry, I don't see how giving Canadians a paid day off would do anything to move Indigenous people toward reconciliation and heal the province. I go ahead.
Well, I just like I don't disagree, because as I just said in my point, I don't think that this day is the answer. And I've said that before about Juneteenth, about Emancipation Day. Like, I feel like that is giving marginalized groups crumbs. But when you're one of the only provinces that doesn't participate, it seems racist, especially when every other thing that you do also either is like pandering towards these groups when it's a photo op, but then, you know, saying that you want to, didn't he say he wanted to get rid of like Indigenous tax exemptions as well? Like, it's just, it bolsters again the idea that he's full of hatred. Like, I don't think that the day is necessarily worth it. But if we were going to, if he's not going to, like, we're not participating in that day, but he's also not offering anything instead. So it's just like one province basically saying we opt out of this thing that the like federally we're trying to do.
That almost the whole country's doing.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, I don't think that it's the answer. This day does not give these communities more money. It does not educate more people. It doesn't help them through any kind of trauma, nothing. But when the one province that doesn't do it, I'm like, this is shit. Like, at least if everyone participate,
it is.
Find a new answer.
Symbolically, yeah, he's not being part of the crowd. He's not jumping on the bus. Mm-hmm. Symbolically, it would have been a really good move for him strategically if he was trying to get Liberal voters votes. But I don't think he is. I think he probably made a bunch of Conservatives happy by a decision like this. You know what I mean? He needs to go. I'm not a fan of him, but I'm just, yeah, all the things added up, it just points more to who he is. But we're also talking about the fact that, like, he's not making it a stat holiday. So I want to also have the conversation is, how does having a stat holiday for recognizing Indigenous, what happened to Indigenous people over the years, help move their communities forward? Honestly, you're just paying a bunch of Canadians, majority of the country being white, like I'm half white, you're paying white Canadians to stay home. And they're not going to go to events. They don't. There's maybe a couple hundred will in each town or city, but there are better, what I'm saying is, if you're going to do something to recognize them, there's better ways to actually benefit their community. You can give the stat money to them. You can make the businesses pay the stat money to them. You can have a proof of attending some kind of learning workshop on that day to get paid to go to work and stuff like that.
But I mean, that's one thing that I think about, which is one of the things it was more of a business decision, which you as a business owner, you definitely can relate. But if we go to an analogy, we could say, what is Victoria Day, right? Like, why we have Victoria Day, which is a Queen Victoria, and it doesn't do anything, right? And it's a federal holiday, or New Brunswick Day, or X amount of days. And I think one of the things that I saw on this is like, fine. I mean, I definitely would like another day off. Canada is the country that with less days off in the world. We definitely are pretty known for that.
Really?
One of them. We're not. I think Mexico's number one, but we're like in the top 5. But what I'm saying is like, if you look at Martin Luther King Day, there's nothing special about Martin Luther King Day in the U.S. It's just remembering the actions of a person. The other thing that I don't see is, if we have days like Victoria Day or New Brunswick Day, I mean, why cannot we have Reconciliation Day? Because again, Queen Victoria was from England, right? So I don't even know why we keep doing that. The thing that kind of frustrates me the most about Blaine Higgs, and not even Blaine Higgs, to be honest with you, it's not just him, it's the system in New Brunswick, is that Blaine Higgs is the part of this province that they say they're not racist, but they do racist things. uh,
Absolutely.
that's the system that goes to it, and it again, it's not really sure. Like the same thing with Emancipation Day, it's not really that it will move the needle or not, it's that it just gets remembered and gets in people's head, right? Like again, we can go with Martin Luther King Day or Remembrance Day, which is a very like we don't want to forget that part of our history, so therefore we repeat it every year so people so it stays in people's loop, and you get a day off, which is amazing, which is cool again. And we had not so great days like Christopher Columbus Day, like they had in many countries that like, and people had a day off, but people wanted to remember Christopher Columbus, although he wasn't the best guy to remember, right? So I think that is one of the things that I feel that in New Brunswick, not necessarily the other provinces or in New Brunswick, is Blaine Higgs has a history of this, right? It has he didn't want to recognize racism as a crime. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to even engage in conversations with the indigenous people. He cut indigenous people fuel tax breaks. Now he does this. There's a trail of things that you do that is like, wait a minute, I'm not quite sure that what you're saying is true, but you have a history of doing things, especially to a group of people that I don't think you like. And that's like and that again, and that is a resemblance of our province. If you would tell me that he was the only guy because he's in power, but that's not just him, right? There is a fair amount of people, especially men, especially old, especially white, that don't like indigenous people. They think they're freeloaders. They think they have this. They think they're this and that. And if you look at our problems, that's a reflection. Is he's not the only one. There's many people that feel this type of way, and the fact that you're the men in power and you're reflecting that out of the highest chair that you can get in the province, it's quite concerning to me. Just because again, it doesn't again, it's not the fact that it's a day off or not. That's not even the relevant part. The relevant part is that you have a track record for doing things to a certain community, and it just doesn't look good. That's definitely what I've been sensing about this situation.
And it's not even a track record with like only that community. It's September 6th. Where's the commissioner against systemic racism? March is around the corner. I don't know what else to do but to fly home and start to picket because this is getting to be ridiculous. Isn't that in like almost 6 months?
It has been. We could launch like an episode dedicated to like, where is it? try to talk to other people in the province, get everyone to chime in and just like come in at 5-minute intervals on the show and be like, Higgs, where's the commissioner?
I mean, I asked
from all the different organizations.
I asked CBC about like writing a piece in if later in the fall if there still isn't named, and I was given the green light to go ahead. Like I will write to Blaine Higgs and say, well, just where is it? How are you expecting someone to do this job in 6 months?
I don't see a reason to wait at all.
Yeah, and
it is the fall.
And I don't think it's what I heard to the grapevine is that it's just not a priority for them. It's just not.
And
that's
the
sad part. And
it was just some PR for the news.
But
go ahead.
And I guess my biggest concern with that part is that we are talking that this is how not just like individuals, this is a system, this is a whole government, right? This is the government that we're talking about, right? And we are seeing policies and we're seeing things in the government that just don't benefit minorities. But then again, on the flip side, we have the state of the province is that, well, the province has tried everything to bring people here. They tried everything that I can imagine, from bringing Canadians, from bringing foreign. And the situation is the following: you need these minorities here. That's just not, that's a fact. That's just how we, there's this health insurance thing, there's these taxes that somebody needs to pay for it, and people are getting older, and unfortunately somebody has to flip that bill. You have to flip it to somebody else. and you need immigrants to do that, or whoever you think it is. And if you have a system that doesn't care about minorities, but you need minorities to stay here and to be here, I don't. This could go to a critical position of our way of living as a province, right? Like, because taxes will get higher if we don't get any more people here, and that means that it's going to become unlivable to be here. But then when you look at it, I don't know how they're not looking at that. How are they just like whoop-de-doo? This people are here, and they come. If they come, they will know one. And again, that's for me is the concern that this is not a priority to them, but they need this, right? And as a person that lives here, it's concerning to that part that it's like you have a government that does not care about anything that's not business or big business, established business. That's all they care about. And it's like, wait a minute, that's not sustainable. So that's pretty much what I'm concerning with this thing is that it's just a track of things that have happened. And I mean, I think you should write. I don't think you should wait 6 months. I think you should just do it next week. I don't think anything. Again, I don't think.
Oh, I'm not waiting 6 months. It would be 6 months until the
Yeah.
position is supposed to end, which like everything you said, I agree with is concerning, but it's also like, I get that this position clearly isn't a priority. I'm not surprised. Clearly Blaine Higgs to me is a racist, but then don't put a deadline. Like the scholar, the student in me, the university nerd in me is like, we're getting too close to the deadline. You need to submit your work and there's going to be no work submitted and he's still going to have 3 more years. Like, what's his excuse going to be? Oops, we forgot. Like, there was a pandemic, I forgot. Like, then don't put a deadline. If it's not your priority and you clearly don't give a shit, then leave it open-ended and then never fill the position and then just leave your position in power and be like, oops, I never cared about Black people. We know you don't. To me, the deadline is the stupidest part of it all.
I mean, again, I just think for me, it's a concern.
I'm very upset about this one thing.
I personally think that is concerning. It should be concerning to a lot of people, but again, I think he caters to a part of this province that they feel comfortable with his decisions, and
that's what I was saying.
That happens,
yeah, all his voters are very happy with this decision.
Yeah. So,
and I'm all for stat days, and I think we need them. I don't get excited when I hear a new one, but just all the listeners are aware, like all the provinces across the country, a lot of them have different days that they consider stat days and different days that they don't. So if you can look it up online by province of what is stat and what isn't. So all that being said, though, looping it back around, like I also obviously agree it's a really bad look. It just adds on to a pattern of repeated behavior that sends a very clear, like as clear as day message to minorities in this province that even though we are investing millions in convincing you to come over here, picking the best from your own countries, making them weaker, picking the best engineers, the doctors, everyone, bringing them over here and then making them be taxi cab drivers and telling them, oops, surprise, your credentials mean nothing here. It's unsustainable for the future of our province, and that's a very strong position I've had for years now.
Yeah, I think the unsustainability in here is just that like they just look at it one way, and again, I think one of the issues in New Brunswick is that most of the people that are in power, they're old, white, and they're men. The majority is it's insane the amount of people that are in power that they have this trait, and they don't like change. They don't like the change. They just don't like changing things. And they're like, if it's not broken, why fix it? But guess what? This is broken beyond belief, and it's just going to become to a point that it's just not becoming sustainable. Now, bear in mind, this is a flip province, so most likely it's going to go liberal, but I don't think the liberals are going to do anything either. So it's definitely not. It is quite concerning because it doesn't matter which party you would go to here. It's basically the same ruling and the same type of system. And we'll see in a few years, but who knows what could happen.
It's the same one. It's the same company.
Well,
it's whatever. It doesn't matter. It is the same company. It is. There may be slightly different policies, whoever gets elected into power, but in this province, it's a company running it, and it's the same one.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. We all know
And
that.
again, we all kind of know that as well. But in a sense, let's just say, for example, let's say that you people cater to this company, right? Let's say that they run the things. Even for them, it's not sustainable. At one point, even like at one point, it's just not gonna work for anybody.
But
They don't care though. They have
unsustainable.
their own islands and they don't have to stay here.
And
But go on.
also,
That's the
are
only thing I could figure out. Like, they will leave and whatever.
well, they'll leave or like they'll die. Like the thing with the old white elites is that they have what 30, 40 years left by the time it becomes unsustainable. Like climate change, I think a
Like the
lot of them are
Earth.
thinking I'll be
Yes,
dead. Yeah, they're all
exactly.
thinking
Yeah.
I'll be dead and this is the next generation's problem. And they're hoping they leave enough money to the baby Irvings so that they can go skip out to an island. But I don't think anyone actually cares. They want to be able to like live the most comfortably right now at the expense of every other person in the province that is not one of them on their side kissing their literal ass.
And it's got nothing to do with comfort because there's only so much money you can make before your quality of life cannot improve anymore. It hits
Yeah,
a plateau, a peak. It's just
hoarding
literal
greed.
complete greed for the
Yes.
sake of having more, just an obsession. Yeah.
But that's one of the things that and again I always wonder, because I agree that this big ass corporation has way too much power here. It's ridiculous the amount of power that they have here, insane to a matter. But I've been in this city meetings and this city things and city hall, business councilmen, new entrepreneurs, all of the crap that you can think of, and the mentality of what people do here, I don't really know if is that corporation's fault or it's just the way that things have been run here. Because I mean, Clinton is about you've been in the Moncton Council of Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yep.
You've been like that's a common thing. Everybody that has a little bit of power there is old and white and a guy.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
you got these people that
There was a
they are,
woman president, but she got kicked out. She got like,
and she was old and white. But again, at least she was
yes,
a woman.
but
At least
she was a woman. Yes.
At least it was a woman. Okay, fair. And
Yeah.
and these people are supposed to just cater to a demographic of a city, not a provincial thing, not even in Riverview, not even Capellet, just Moncton, just the businesses that are in Moncton. And if you come to an idea that they just don't understand, like they just don't understand it, they don't know what it is, they just understand, they will block it. They'll be like, no, 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 we don't understand this. We need to hold this down. And you're like, I'll put the example. Somebody was trying to put a hookah lounge. Like they were trying to put a hookah lounge. That was the thing. And it was a Middle Eastern man. He explained it. He said he has done it in different places and whatever. They didn't get it. They just didn't get it. They thought it was a restaurant. He's like, no, no, no. And they allow you can't prove the bylaws. You can't do this. You can't do that. And at the end, couldn't do it. There was been people that have done some technology things, and I seen, and this is where the kicker comes. And again, I'm not blaming anybody. I could be totally wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I seen engineers coming from different countries that had amazing ideas and very tech savvy, very smart people, and they cannot get anything. While I see white kids that they come with an idea that everybody has and they automatically get accepted or get way more traction from people like the Moncton Chamber of Commerce or people like certain people than an average immigrant or somebody that would be indigenous will. And for me, that's like, how am I supposed to stay here if you are kind of blocking me as Higgs does with the indigenous? While if you are somebody that I'm familiar with, I'll give you traction, even if your idea kind of sucks. So it is quite it is quite interesting how things work here and the changes. And again, it's not. I think it's a maritime problem. I don't think it necessarily is a New Brunswick problem, but this is where we live, right? So that's definitely something to think about. So, anyways,
I mean, the Irvings might not be directly to blame for stuff like that, but they've definitely created the mentality amongst the white people in power that like the least amount of change keeps everything the same, because the more it changes, I'm sure the more they feel threatened. Everything's working out well for them because they're all making money. So why let other people have any piece of the pie?
honestly, I really don't. I don't.
That's what
know.
I think.
I don't really know if that to blame. Like you can blame Irving for a lot of things. Definitely, you can blame him for a lot of things.
I do.
But I feel like some type of mentality on how the system is, especially. And again, there's a pattern. Everybody that's in power, it's old men and white. That's
everywhere.
It's just like, it's like, wait a minute, like there's no young 40, 30-year-old woman that can do this shit. Like are you telling me that there's no guy from from Montreal that just happens to be black or brown can't do this, and he happens to be in the age of 40? Like it doesn't make any sense to me how positions that you would feel like they need innovation and traction are commanded by people that are like, wait a minute, what, like I'm sorry, nothing against your age, but you shouldn't be here. like
New Brunswick's always been about 30-40 years behind everywhere else in the world, right? So
yep.
I mean, hopefully 30-40 years we'll be seeing more quality.
And again, I don't think I don't know, like I remember one time, this was like 3-4 years ago, there was a guy, this was in Rothsay in New Brunswick. This guy put a food truck selling sandwiches, and the mayor did not want him to have a sandwich truck there. And we were like, and it was all over the news, and it was like, what? Like, and he said, literally, he said, we don't like change. That's what the mayor said. This is real. You look it up. It wasn't CBC. I'm not making this shit up.
You don't like change around these parts here.
Yeah, I put it on my Facebook. I was like, what the fuck? Like a sandwich truck? Seriously, dude? Like, really? It's just a fucking food truck.
What's the change? The fact that it's on wheels? Like, what is new about the concept of food? That's not change.
Again, and it's
they only recently passed the bylaw to allow kids to sell lemonade outside on their front lawn. So the food truck was just too much for them.
Don't get people started too about the steak tartare controversy, because I even got heard about that in person when I was there. Woo! Everyone's up in arms.
Again, it's New Brunswick. It's a nice place to live. I can't say it's a nice place to live. But
it's scenic, but it's racist
beautiful.
As fuck.
It's beyond us to know exactly what the cause of the problems are. But I mean, it's a far stretch to say that it's not the majority that company. I mean, has to do with why we have the lowest education rates in the country, the worst economy, the most racism, the most like it's.
Do we have the most?
Because PEI is very different, right? You just go 2 hours across, like just drive for an hour. You're on a whole different world.
What a great segue into Nova Scotia and how they might also be racist.
Well, Nova Scotia is not much better, but I'm saying maybe it's because PEI is on an island.
I mean, I gotta say, I don't know. I have to check that to see if we're the racist provinces. I don't think so.
You know how we could find out if we're the most racist? If there was a commissioner against racism, but we'll never know.
Well, there's one in Nova Scotia.
Then damn it, we must be the most racist. We don't even have the commissioner.
We should definitely look that up. What's the most racist place in I'm thinking it's Ontario, because it's
Nova Scotia has the worst history. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I would assume it would be Ontario because it's the biggest, but I don't know. But
I would say Quebec if we were talking about, or Alberta if we're talking about nationally.
We should look that up, actually.
I'd definitely say Alberta.
It says Winnipeg is the most racist city.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Because
Winnipeg's the most a lot of things.
Yeah. I never heard somebody like, Winnipeg is so nice. Like, oh my God, it's amazing. I've never heard anybody say that, ever.
First thing anyone brings up when you talk about Winnipeg are like very diverse, yes, but lots of problems.